When my boys were little and I was in the early mom stages and worried about whether I was going to do a good job, what kind of mom I was going to be, all of those fears and insecurities that came up, I developed a strategy for being a mom that helped me a lot. And I continue to use it even though my kids are grown and living their own lives now. I apply this to how I manifest. And this is what I did. I know enough psychology and developmental psychology that I know statistically men tend to marry women who are like their mother, either like their mother in the good qualities or like their mother in the negative qualities, right? And when we grow up with trauma, we either, we become like the abuser or we become the opposite of. Those kinds of statistics were going through my mind. And I knew that I had a lot to work on, a lot of growing to do. I had my kids right at the beginning of trying to heal from one of the biggest traumas I had had in my life. And then I had trauma while I was raising them. But what I did was I imagined the kind of woman that I wanted my kids to have. And I didn't just do that as a blanket character. I did also apply that to each one of them because they were different. They had different characters. So there were different things that I knew that they were going to need. And then I tried to be those things that I thought that they needed. I tried to represent for them what that would look like. Even in my failings, trying to represent the level of accountability and honesty that I would want a partner to show them. The trust in their ability to figure things out, the trust in their capability. I put those character traits on to the best of my ability the entire time I raised them. I became something more than what I was because I didn't change who I was. I just took traits that I knew I had and exaggerated them, made them more, focused on them and drew them out. And I worked really, really hard on the ones that went against anything I valued for my kids. And I have applied that to my vision board and my goals and my dreams for the future, right? I don't just sit and imagine, vacations and material things and a lifestyle without imagining the qualities and characters and character traits and values that a person living that lifestyle would have to have. And that is what I use to be in the energy now. Right? Because if I want to be, which I don't, but I'm going to use this as an example. If I want to be a CEO of a major company and have my own business that is a major enterprise, there are certain characteristics and traits that I need to start developing now in order to have those in place for that future that I'm envisioning. And I can do that now, right? If I need to work on my integrity, my honesty when others aren't looking for integrity, then I work on those things. If I need to be someone who has a more regular routine, then I institute a routine in small ways that are going to be successful for me. I always aim within my ability to be successful now with the goal of overcoming any previous limitations. Each day is going to reveal a new challenge on my path. I just aim to be better than the one the day before. And I keep aiming my life that direction. But I put those characteristics on now. I don't just imagine the lifestyle, I imagine the person it would take to be in that lifestyle. And that is how I apply the be that now. Because sometimes I think it gets kind of skimmed over, like we assume that people know that. You can't just imagine the life you want without imagining the person that it would take to live that life, to actually produce that life. And then you find those character traits, those characteristics, and you practice them now in small ways, in what you watch on TV, what you listen to, what kind of music you listen to, what kind of foods you eat, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk with others, the way you talk to people you care about, and the way you talk to people you don't know. The way you talk about people when they're not in the room. Those are all things that you need to look at as you are planning for this future that you want, and evaluate right now whether you are in alignment with that or not. And your body will tell you, because almost every discomfort that we feel in our body originates energetically in a choice that we made to self-betray. If my joints are inflamed, I can look at the foods that I'm eating and see if I am eating the correct foods that are supporting my body's needs. If I haven't been moving for a while and my joints are stiff, that's a behavior that I can change. The body will tell you. And one of the things that I learned, and I'm sure that there are quite a few of you that are probably discovering this and just haven't started talking about it yet, that with all of this purging that we have been going through and these changes that we have made, what I have found is a lot of the chronic symptoms that I dealt with, like my headaches, my anxiety, even the depressed states that I used to get into, even the lethargy, it's calm and it's different. I'm not wiped out every day. I don't have the chronic fatigue the same way. The tired is usually earned in some way now. But as I started removing myself, leaving, speaking my truth, and setting boundaries, as soon as I started applying that to people, places, and things without having to directly work on them, those symptoms improved. I don't have panic attacks anymore because I'm not actively in environments that are constantly attacking my nervous system. Because I imagined the life I want, and I started making choices that honored the person that could support that lifestyle now. Because if that is something in me that I dream to be, then that person is here now. And I can put those characteristics, those traits, and those values on now. A lot of our mythology and these beings that we see in religion, they are archetypes of a value represented in just that value's form, like the Archangel Michael, the value of truth, a being entirely of truth. Walk in that for a week. Try to be like Michael and be just in your truth. And everywhere where you catch it, hold yourself accountable. Say, all right, I caught myself right there. I didn't speak my truth. You don't necessarily have to address it in the moment. You have to catch yourself. And then when you catch yourself being truthful in a new way, in a way that required you to overcome some discomfort, reward that. I like my chocolate shakes. So if I have a day where I have overcome something that was related to my trauma, and this time I turned around and walked into it more prepared and able to speak my truth and set the boundaries that I needed, and I'm not talking an actual traumatic situation. I'm talking about a trigger moment where there isn't actual trauma. It is just bringing up the feelings. That would be a chocolate shake moment. So immediately afterwards, I'm going to talk to myself really, really proudly and say, oh my gosh, you did so good. You did so good. Okay, now let's go reward it. Because the more I can institute these habits and practices of reward around behaviors and traits and values that are going to support this vision and dream that I have down the road, the more autopilot they're going to be. And this is how I have cultivated my inner world, along with, controlling and paying attention to what I'm listening to and what I'm feeding it. So we are at the new moon and the solstice and coming up on our New Year's resolutions. This is a really, really good time, and this is what I'm doing for myself, and looking at the change and seeing those areas where I have grown. Where have I lived toward my vision? Where have I overcome those limitations? Where have I been successful that I might not have noticed? And then I'm going to take that as my foundation point. I'm going to rest in that, live in that, and see the ways that reveal to me moving forward where I can enhance those values more. I'm not focusing on what went wrong. If I need to be accountable, I hold myself accountable, but then I note it and I put it down and I focus on the traits I'm looking to build. right now accountability to this for me is really, really big. And this isn't about whether anybody's seeing it or not. This is for me. This is about me being able to be comfortable in my own skin in a visible way. And so at the end of the day, when I'm looking and evaluating and going, where am I standing at the end of this year? What do I like that I have done? What do I want to continue feeding? I can look at things like this, and I'm going to list things like this and say, all right, this is what I want to do more of. What is working about it? What might not be working about it? And that's the area where my next limitation is that I'm going to go at. And that's what I go at. So anyway, I'm just holding my commitment to myself and sharing the thoughts that I have on a day-to-day basis, what's kind of coming up in repeating themes, and that really being able to pull it in and focus on your values and be in your values is really, really big for me. I'm not feeling called to do anything about them right now, just to recognize them and feel them. Like, what value is calling you right now? What value is saying, hey, I need some attention, I need some water, I need some sun, I need some help to grow? Reflect on that as you're going through this energy portal and you're looking at the challenges and the obstacles. Find those traits that are working, those character traits that are going to get you to your goals and your visions, those ones that support that manifestation that you're aiming at. Find where they're working. Say, good job, we did it. Look at what we overcame. Reward that. And then say, okay, here's my next target. I see the barrier. I see where I'm not quite being true. I'm not quite opening enough. And it's not about really even forcing the effort. It's about being willing and open and honest and accountable, right? And just putting in the effort. It's a practice, not a profession. But you do have a PhD in your own experience, so you're pretty dang practiced. Keep doing it. You're doing great. Focus on where it is you're trying to be and plant the seeds that you want to grow. It's your garden. Plant and remove as you need to. Anyway, that was it. Love you.